So let's get into it. The case of Breck Bender took place in Canton, Surrey, London on February 17th, 2014. Breck was described as a bright, loving, and kind boy by all of his friends and family. This all changed as soon as he met Louis Daines, an 18-year-old computer engineer who groomed and manipulated this boy in 18 months.
Was this in the U.S.?
It's in London.
This was in London.
Oh, okay.
Anywho, Breck met Daines on an online chat room playing Call of Duty Battlefield called FEP, F-E-P, where it is said that a lot of boys around the age of 14 would play, and some were even said to be groomed by this man as well. So when Breck first met Daines was very charming, tried to get along with all of his friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in an interview, Breck's mother even said that at times she would walk into the room and have a nice conversations with the man, because that he was a man, and that he was always very kind and polite, and she never worried about him playing with her son online. The first people to notice a change in Breck and Daines' relationship. So the first people to notice that Breck and Daines' relationship had changed were his friends online. They noticed the little things, the way Breck would be in a separate chat room with Daines alone, and the way that Daines would give Breck more attention than he would the other boys and ask specific questions to him, and just single him out of the group. When his friends started mentioning, hey, I feel like he's lying about his job, or they would point out something that Daines was not telling the truth about, or trying to, get Breck alone, Daines would get upset and kick them out of the chat room and tell Breck not to listen to them. The second person that noticed something was different with Breck was his mother. As I had mentioned before, Daines was always sweet to Breck's mother, always making friendly conversation, but as the months passed and Christmas neared, he started to be very rude towards her when she would walk into his room and ask him, hey, who are you talking to? Maybe you should get off of your game. He would just make very rude and nasty comments towards her, and that rubbed off onto Breck, and Breck started being very rude to his mother as well. One of the lies that his mom would point out was that Breck was being lied to about a computer programming job that Daines was supposedly offering him. If you remember from the beginning of the script, I had said that Daines was a computer engineer, and everyone was telling Breck that couldn't be possible since he was only 18. And when his mother mentioned that he was being lied to about the job offer, he got very defensive, and he told her that she didn't care for him, nor did she want the best for him. And that just pushed her to the point to having to call the police and filling out a report on, hey, I think my son is being groomed by this man, and can you guys check it out? Unfortunately, the police didn't do anything at the time, and they just filed the report and pushed it under the rug, which makes you think, if that would have been different, would he still be here today, you know? Yeah. But unfortunately, despite her efforts to try to stop this by taking away his laptop, his gaming equipment, grounding him, on
FEPA? Or FEP?
Yes, on FEP, they devised a plan to meet up at Daines' apartment, at his flat in Grey, Essex, London, and Breck had told his parents that he was going to a friend's house to spend the night and to hang out. And in reality, he was going to the man's flat. The neighbors saw Breck arrive at his flat and thought it was strange since Danes had never had anyone over in his 18 months of living there. So later that night, there was a phone call to the London Police Department that consisted of a very calm and composed Louis Danes telling the operator that he just stabbed one of his friends after getting into an altercation from which the boy had lunged at him, supposedly, with a knife and tried to attack Danes. And that Danes had to end up stabbing his friend to death. And that ended up in his initial death. And his... So, after this occurred, Danes was sentenced to 25 years in prison. And hopefully he doesn't get parole, because it was seen a long time ago that this was gonna happen. Not only by people close to him, but So what are your thoughts, comments, concerns?
The mom was too lenient on him.
Mm-hmm. Ramon?
Well, there's always a lot of cases that happen like this. There should be different measures that goes into controlling or overviewing their kids. Video games or internet use, but he was 18, and a lot of people give their 18-year-old kids access to it.
I'm sorry. The man was 18.
The man was 18.
The little boy was 14.
Never mind. That's
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention
the mom
that.
should have had more control over him.
There's so many restrictions you can use
Mm-hmm.
to prevent chat rooms like that.
There's apps and all that stuff to monitor what your kids do, but it's just a matter of doing it, and not everyone's going to do it until it's too late for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in here, I think I went over it a bit, but it was said that the mom had taken away his
She took away their stuff, but
but she gave it back immediately after
they're
he showed
gonna
a change.
they're gonna bypass it, even if they do stuff. But no, I think there should be more. If you file a report for something that you think is going on, and it doesn't go into an investigator or something, and something like that does happen, they should be fined for it or taken to court.
Because she did try to prevent it of that man having contact with him, but also you should have certain control over your kids, especially when it comes to the internet.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate because he already knew where he lived, so he probably would have traveled sooner to him if she would have taken his stuff away or prohibited.
Yeah.
That's sad.
So, how does this case make you feel? Like, you are going to be a mother soon, or not a mother, but like,
I mean,
how would you feel? Like,
I don't know what else is a mother.
I mean, we've already talked about it really well that we are going to be strict on phone usage. A kid probably won't have a phone until it's really needed, and even then it would be restricted to a certain point. We also don't want to have tablet kids. That's something we've...
iPad kids.
Oh, iPad kids. We don't want iPad kids. We want them... like, you see it now, 4 or 5-year-olds on freaking Roblox and stuff. Why are they on Roblox chatting to random people?
Yeah.
Those people are 28 and up, or sometimes older, just searching for that,
There's people out there in those game servers looking for it. There's no need to put your kid in that position to be in contact with people like that.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day,
It's the parents' fault.
It'll be your fault.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, there's no need for a 14-year-old to be in the chat room.
Yeah.
There really isn't.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many codes that people use, emojis that people use to hide what they're doing online. And kids don't understand that, and they fall into the trap, and then, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, in my case, like, with our parents, like, they didn't let us do a lot of things and talk to people online, like. So, Ramon, you grew up very different from me and Ruby. So, what was your experience as a kid with video games and online? Because, you know, you were a 14-year-old boy once and you played Call of Duty.
I didn't play video games until 15, 16. Majority of the time I just spent it outside playing.
Eating bugs, but
Hoodlum stuff.
Eating what?
Eating bugs.
No, he was doing hoodlum stuff.
I was doing hoodlum stuff.
Getting detained.
Stuff like that. But no, I also wasn't dumb. You know not to talk to other people.
Yeah. But was there ever people that would try to talk to you?
No, I wouldn't put myself in those situations. You put yourself in those situations, people get curious.
I just think there's too much exposure right now.
Yeah.
Kids have
It also depends on the game too, because there's a lot of weirdos on certain video games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also we need to keep in mind this was 2014, so
Times were different.
yeah.
But now they even have more access to it.
Now it's even worse.
I mean,
video games, everything is.
We know a little girl that's 4, 5, and she has a phone and she's on Roblox. She's on all those video games.
She's 6, 7.
Oh, 6 or 7.
But she was exposed to that younger.
Yeah. We know someone else that was chatting with an older man on Roblox. And they had shared information of where someone of their family lived. And that person was only 10 or 11. So, and the other individual was older. They can tell it was an older person. So it's kind of just scary that is such an available app for younger children.
Yeah.
And they're exposed to that. But I also, again, it goes back to the parents that don't have restrictions or discipline towards the internet. Because all of that can be prevented.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Yeah, they get exposed to it at school and stuff. But
yeah,
if you give them the tools to do that stuff, then it'll happen.
Yeah, yeah. What age do you think you'll let your kids play video games or be online?
Around 15, but that's with
restrictions and checking up on it.
Yeah, this is very little of it also.
Probably on weekends after.
Yeah.
For 2-3 hours. Not a long time. Because the longer you leave them on there, the more exposed they are to looking up certain things or chatting with certain people. So it's just, restricted time and days.
Yeah.
I think.
So you guys are planning, to parent how mom and dad did?
Not so strict, but yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here and listening to this case. Thank you for your insight on